Hey folks, it's Hunter from Support Local Film. Thank you so much for watching. Have you gotten your tickets for the Castle Rock Film Festival? Well, you should, because I am the director of the Castle Rock Film Festival, which means that I am making sure all the movies are really cool, that you are going to have a great time. April 14th and 15th at the Theater of Dreams. Times and movies are listed on the Castle Rock Arts Cooperative website, so you should check it out and make sure to get your tickets before the night begins, because I cannot guarantee that there's going to be a lot of seating. I just can't, because it's a small film festival, it's a small theater. We're making it really intimate because we want to have a good time, baby. Until then, I have someone very special. He is the person behind a lot of what happens in Denver. He is Gio Toninelo. How are you doing, Tony?
I'm good. I'm good, Hunter. Thank you for having me.
Well, I've been really meaning to get you on the show, Gio, because you're a person who I'm hoping to learn from, and a person who I think people don't recognize how much you do in the city, and you really do a lot. You're the person behind the Denver Short Film Festival. You're the person behind the Denver Action Figure Film Festival.
Yes.
Which I tell me about that. Tell me about how that started.
The Action Figure Film Festival used to be called the G.I. Joe Fest.
G.I. Joe Fest.
Because we started just with G.I. Joes. If you had G.I. Joe action figures, you put a little movie together, and we had a blog, which is actually a comic book online that was all with action figures. This is like back in 2005, maybe 3. And so when we ended that comic book, we hey, I always wanted to do stop motion with those figures, and we did a couple of films, and then let's honor people that are doing stop motion with action figures, and that's kind of how it got started. So we ran this. We traveled through the country with the festival, and people that started with us showing films are now working for Adult Swim. It's great to see people growing with us in a way. And then we got the Denver Short Film Festival going for the first show is this February, and kind of want to branch out a little bit.
And we're all about local here, Gio. That's all we talk about. It's always local movies or someone who in their market is an independent producer. I really, really appreciate someone who creates a short film festival, because it's specific to have a market for people who are of all different stripes and colors and backgrounds, but they're creating something brand new we've never seen before in short form. So when is the Denver Short Film Festival? Where can we see it, and what are you excited about?
Cool. So we're doing it at the Mayan Theater, classic landmark here in Denver, and it's February 23rd. In the thick of it right now, judging the films. We wanted to have local filmmakers kind of be a counterpart with the international version or the national version. So we're kind of looking into do a half locals, half out of state, filmmakers. So trying to find a medium, and kind of blend in all these films together is being sort of challenging, but fun, super fun. Some great films. And we're just exciting pretty much. And it should be fun. It's small. Like you said, you're working on the Castle Rock Film Festival, and we kind of wanted to test the waters to see if this was viable for us. Colorado film festivals are really just for Colorado filmmakers, right? And then you have a few, town film festivals that do the international thing with the locals. And we kind of want to blend in again to give them a little more opportunity for the locals. And because it's fun, if it's just locals, I think it brings a little extra when there's international filmmakers with the locals. You feel more, not necessarily included, granted included locally, but also included on a global level. Does that make sense at all?
No, it does. It does. I really believe in the mission because we gotta have something for our local people, a platform for them, but really showing that, united, we have something a little stronger to give to people.
Right.
So, Gio, what is the thing you are most excited about when you see a movie? What is it that you're looking for as a festival person when you're viewing a movie? What do you want to see in a movie?
Story. That's key. I work as a cinematographer, so I used to be like, oh, this doesn't look good, but if the story is captivating, you're more inclined to actually, pick a good story over a good-looking film that doesn't quite make that much sense. I think that's key for me, and that comes from the Action Figure Film Festival, when people would submit like a fight scene as a film. That's not. I mean, it's cool. You have technique. It looks good, but then, is what's you want to see a story. You want to see a story that makes sense.
What are other things that might disqualify someone if they are submitting something?
Have not disclassified anybody except for length. Because we only accept 20-minute or less films. So I had to kind of clarify, talk to a couple of filmmakers like, hey, and I'm totally open, like, hey, you want to recut this a little shorter? You think you can tell your story, under 20, I'll give you some extra time. Go, work on a second cut, and then, and I'm open to that. I don't, other than that, or obviously, we too raunchy or too, it doesn't really stop us, per se. If the story is good and you really think it makes sense to have that whatever scene in there, that's okay by me. We're not really trying to curate the film festival for under 17 people anyway.
That's fair enough. I think that the film festival world, you can really tell anything. I think one of my favorite movies I ever saw in a festival was a movie about a black hole that shows up in somebody's living room. And what does he throw into it? His used tissues. That was what he used it for. And then his best friend gets stuck in there. So his best friend get covered in.
Hilarious.
It is hilarious.
That's a good storyline.
It was a brilliant movie. You should check it out. But at the same time, I think it's one of those things that you can really get away with almost anything at a film festival because there's such low stakes comparatively. Like, oh no, someone in Kansas City doesn't like you. Who gives a
Right.
Yeah. So what's going to be something you look for this year as you start the Denver Film Festival or the Denver Short Film Festival?
So, I mean, it's already, like I said earlier, we're testing the waters. And I'm already surprised with the amount of films we received, the quality of the films. And so we're starting small. So we're trying to expand, I'd like to, we got 273 films. And that's more than I was expecting. And it breaks my heart sometimes there because we have such a limited amount of time that you have to boot a film that is actually okay because they're one that's slightly better, and I think so we really want to kind of expand this next year to maybe 2 and then maybe 3 nights to include everybody. If your film is good and you should be in that. Obviously renting a theater is expensive and all this stuff, but we're not in for the money. We're in to support people that are making films. So I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody and seeing all the filmmakers, at the film festival, and then showing the good films that we received and having a good time. But I'm also, looking forward to making this thing a little bigger, so we can have more fun and include more films and more good films and keep the ball rolling.
I understand the struggle about having these programming difficulties. I'm already in that bucket. I fortunately don't have to worry about the money too much, because that's not my arm. That's not my part of the project for the Castle Rock Film Festival. My job is getting the word out there, getting submissions, getting people in seats. My problem that I'm running into now is I can see your issue too, because I've rented out the Mayan before. It was at least $1,500. I got to split that between a couple different filmmakers. We had a great showcase. We had a lot of people come out. We were very fortunate. But the prices could have only gone up since then because from before COVID. And then you have to make these decisions on Film Freeway, like what fees you're going to charge, what prices you're going to charge, and then how you're going to pay for different things like programs. What is the struggle of all these things while coordinating it? Like, what does the budget line look like?
It's tight. It's very tight. We have a team of, originally I think we started with 6 and we're a little shorter now. But people are working we're all volunteers in a way. And so it's kind of hard to make the things work a little bit. We have to pay phone lines. You got to be accessible to filmmakers, not just through email. We get calls a lot, surprisingly. And I want to talk to the filmmakers too. It's like we want to be accessible. But you have your theater. You step and repeats, after parties, you got to try to budget all this stuff kind of together. And we kind of doing this small, so we're not like coughing out money out of our pockets to pay for this to happen. Thankfully, we started with, it was, I think, at $12 to submit films too, so it's not like, we're making $50-$60 with some festivals charge that, for film submissions. So there are some little challenges here and there. Before we sat to do this, we planned a budget. This is how much money we're going to need, and let's hope that we can make this money, pay for everything with the submissions. And thankfully we did. So we're kind of on a comfortable position now. But obviously this is kind of not for profit. So whatever money is left goes back to the festival again to do something back. Rent another night. Next year at the theater and stuff like that. So
those are all really tough considerations, especially when you have to think about how many movies you have to watch to get this right. Because you're not just going to pick the ones that have been in a lot of festivals. You're not just going to pick the ones who, this one was on Alter, this one was on, or this filmmaker's on Shudder, and this was his weekend where he just goofed off and made a short film. You really, really do care about all these filmmakers, so you really watch every single one. What's the time commitment like?
It's hard, because we run a business, we have our lives, and but you have to put some time to do this. And the other thing is we try to do it together, so whatever day of the week doesn't work for someone, sometimes no, it's we can manage, or like let's do it on a Saturday instead. But during the summer was great. We had a screen outside. We have all the submissions. Our queues. We watch all the films. We marked, flagged them. As much as we could once a week. We would watch maybe 15. The hardest part was obviously, when you're getting close to closing your submissions, people tend to submit more because they're, that date's closer to the announcement of the lineup. This last December, we were like, we're in a good place, watch most of the films, and all of a sudden there's a whole new wave of films that came in. And then there's the holidays, people are not available to watch them. How do we manage this? This is very unique for the Denver Short Film Festival because, a lot of film festivals will assign a group of films to a judge or volunteer. Hey, watch these, pick your favorites, and then those favorites get watched by, the final judges, right? So, you know, a lot of people don't watch the bulk of it. You know, there's a lot of like films that maybe watched by someone that, you know, doesn't, or didn't get the film or whatever, you know. And so, but our goal was to watch it all together, all the judges, you know, including me as the artistic director, you know, so nothing fell through the funnel.
It's not a charming life. You don't make it sound like we're going to all go talk to Ryan Johnson and we're all going to go talk to Scarlett Johansson.
Right, right. No, I mean, I enjoyed. I mean, it's tough when you get, like, say, like 5 films in a row that are not great. You know, you kind of almost lose faith in humanity or filmmakers. It's like, oh no, that was hard. Yeah, because you know you didn't get that good story like we were talking about. But other than that, you know, you get some popcorn, you can crack a beer or whatever your beverage of choice, and let's go for it.
So Gio, we're going to get more into talking more about the Denver Short Film Festival. We're going to talk more about the Action Figure Film Festival. I want to learn more about how to make a film festival, but first we're going to play a little bit of game time. Are you ready?
Ready.
Fantastic. So, because you are someone who did the Action Figure Film Festival, originally I was going to ask you questions from like Toy Story and from like you know that movie that was like where the toy soldiers and they're like the soldiers come to life and then the monsters come out.
Right, right.
Yeah, and the monsters turn out to be the good guys and they're just trying to find a home.
I remember that. That was Stan Wilson.
Yeah.
Did all the animation.
Yeah, and that's a good movie, but I every time I think about that movie I cry a little bit, so I can't ask you questions from that. So instead, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna ask you questions from the movie Bowfinger from Steve Martin. Have you ever seen that one?
Long time ago.
Okay, well this is gonna be a miserable experience.
Oh
for you.
yeah, I'm gonna fail.
Now in the movie Bowfinger, the screenwriter who starts making this movie and gets Steve Martin on all these zany adventures, he writes the screenplay and it's blank rain. What is the blank in the screenplay name from blank rain? Is it Fat Rain, B, Cozy Rain, C, it's raining men, hallelujah, it's raining men, amen, or is it D, Chubby Rain?
Oh man, Chubby Rain.
That's absolutely right.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Now, Gio, I'm glad you got that first question right because here's how this works. If you don't get 2 out of 3 of the questions right, I'm gonna make you produce a film festival every month for the rest of your life.
I'll do it. It's not too bad. It's smaller.
Some of the punishments fit the person. Anyway, number two.
Okay.
So here's the question, and Heather Graham, she plays Daisy. She's kind of set climbs through the cast and the crew, and set climbs is not a very nice term, but it's what she does.
Sure.
So, in Heather Graham, eventually she gets to the star of Chubby Rain, and it's played by Eddie Murphy's twin brother, Eddie Murphy. Now, when she takes off her top, what does he say to her?
Okay.
Is it A, I've never seen these before? Is it B, I'll have what she's having? Is it C, chocolate rain? Or is it D, you're going to be a star?
Oh, I don't remember. This is a total guess. You're going to be a star.
You're absolutely correct. Yes. You are going to be a star. And you're going to be a star, Gio.
Final answer. Yes.
Okay. Now, the third question for you. Eddie Murphy was only available for 6 weeks to shoot this movie because it was happening fast. It's a movie about people who love movies, so you know how fast this kind of stuff happens. What movie was he shooting in between Bowfinger? I'm going to give you 4 options. Are you ready? So was it A, The Nutty Professor, 2, The Clumps? Was it B, Norbit? Was it C, Independence Day? Or was it D, Saving Private Ryan? Think about Eddie Murphy's filmography.
Right. So yeah, we already know there's few in there that don't work. But I can't remember. What was the first one?
The Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps.
The Clumps.
Are we going to swallow some poison and say it's The Clumps?
Yes.
Okay, you'd be absolutely right, Gio. It is The Clumps.
All right. 3 right.
3 right, yeah. So now you only have to make a film festival every 6 months.
Thank you. No.
From the moment the lights dim and the screen flickers to life, until that final camera fade when the crowd sits up, there's no other experience like seeing a film. The Denver Short Film Festival proudly presents the coolest film festival in the American West. Landmarks Mayan Theater, Denver, Colorado, February 23rd at 7 p.m. Come celebrate lights, camera, audience, and all the people who make it possible on this special night. Get your tickets now at denvershortfilmfestival.com.
If you're just joining us, we have Gio Toninelo. He is from the Denver Short Film Festival, and he's also from Rocket House Pictures. He's a really cool guy, and I think that you're someone we really want to learn from, Gio, because not only do you have a successful business, not only do you have all the things you do, but you're also someone who isn't afraid to tackle a tough project. So when you are doing a tougher project, and in your case you'll get into what you can say about it right now on the program, how do you take care of yourself and your family when you're doing something like that?
Gotcha. Yeah. So currently we are working on some sex trafficking videos, documentary style, and it's hard. It's hard. At the end of the day, a long day at the studio with sex trafficking survivors, listening to their stories, it kind of takes a little bit of a toll, and you got to take the breaks. You cannot, jump head into it, and you have to kind of try to separate, and it's hard. Off camera we're talking about listening to these horrible things that happen to people that we don't, sometimes we forget that those things happen, and you kind of on these projects that we're working on right now, you're almost reliving, and the person being interviewed is reliving in a way, and you kind of suck some of that, energy from them, kind of not let them collapse on stage, because, they'll be bawling, and we will be bawling too. And I think, and that's the other thing, don't hold back, I learned not to hold back on set, just let it all out, because it kind of helps you in the long run. Plus it makes, obviously, as a filmmaker, a more emotional piece, but that's the last thing. But you got to take care of yourself. Take as much breaks as you need to. Don't work on weekends. Try to separate work from pleasure. You're gonna go nuts.
And you particularly, you work with your wife, and you doing this project together. How do you guys manage this when you're both driving home together in the car?
Yeah, there have been some very quiet drives back, but we do talk about it, and then how did that make you feel, or try to understand her perspective too, and and try to soothe each other, when subject matter is a little super heavy, but we work great together. We've been doing this for over 13 years now, and we kind of figure out how to do this together. And we're on set together, we're at home together, and it works.
And that's a great relationship. I'm very fortunately in a relationship with someone who happens to be a nurse, and she's a lovely, lovely human being. But I can't imagine doing what she does, and I doubt she could imagine doing this with me. So it's amazing to see two people work and collaborate together. Do you guys find that it's easier with together that you could talk about these hard subjects?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's support, like not just from being husband and wife, but also at work. So it works great.
Gio, I think something that a lot of people really want to know, especially when they're just starting out, and especially when they're looking to submit into film festivals and they're looking to, jumpstart the next part of their career. They really kind of want to get in the minds of the festival programmers and the directors and people. So I'm really just interested in trying to figure out what are some key things that you see when you look on people's film freeway before you watch the movie. If they submit in a certain way, what are you seeing that it gives you a good sign and a bad sign that maybe you're in a little bit of trouble here, or maybe they might make the cut?
Right. So right off the top, it's the cover of your video, like whatever. A lot of film free, you can submit through Film Freeway.
Mm-hmm.
And upload your film there. Sometimes they don't give you an option to pick what the cover of the video is, but on Vimeo you can set up, your titles. I never read, and I think we made the point on not reading log lines or, synopsis.
Yeah.
We just we see the artwork is the first, it's your business card for the film festivals, in a way. So that usually tells what the quality of the movie is going to be. Surprisingly, believe it or not,
So you can judge a book by its cover.
You can. You absolutely can. So yeah, I mean, to me, that's kind of like, oh, here we go, or like, it's going to be good, or it could be, you can. I would say like 75 to 80% chance that you're correct on that assumption.
Now, what are some things, some tropes that if you see the movie, it's not going to get into the festival? So if is the classic if the first thing you hear when you press play is the alarm clock and they're in bed, is that when you turn it off?
No, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of those. Yes, the alarm clock. I have done that.
We've all done it.
In my career, yes, I have done that. But no, I think get to the point fast, right? I mean, especially for a short film festival, there is, I think we will go about, I'd say maybe 7 minutes in, and we're like, this is not working. Imagine on a film festival, it's a short film festival, right? So a 20-minute film could take the place of, say, 4 short films.
Right.
So if you're not spectacular, if it's not super great, I'd rather not program that 20-minute film and put 4 films in there, right? So if you're thinking of, let's say a 5-minute film, you probably, if your story is, you have to kind of develop kind of fast. Or, I'm not even talking about I'm talking just about story. I'm not talking about looks or, plot lines or nothing else. I'm just talking about storyline.
Yeah.
So, because sometimes you get influenced by these kind of more indie films that have a nice conversational Tarantino style, conversational piece, but that adds nothing to the film. You're basically wasting time in your story.
Right.
I mean, if it's relevant to the plot, or I guess it makes sense. So that's kind of a turn off for me when you're just, or you just cutting like visual, your establishing shots are too long or too many, before you get to the story. Those are usually signs that they're like, well, maybe, well, obviously we watch them, you know, but it kind of becomes like you're already kind of in the back of your head, like, I don't know, you know.
Now, what is the one thing that, if you great story, that's excellent. What is the one thing that you will never program? Like, is there a certain topic that you're like,
Great question. At the moment, I would say I will go for everything. If it has a story, it makes sense, you're probably going to make it. Yeah, I mean, it could be horror, it could be, obviously, not porn. But, yeah, no plumber stories. No. No, that's fine. That's fine. But, yeah, from all these years, everything's game,
That's great, and that's the story, folks. Anything is good as long as it has a good cover and a great story. You can get anywhere you want to go. Gio, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate this and all the work you do for the Denver community.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now, where can people find you?
So, DenverShortFilmFestival.com. You can buy tickets for the show on February 23rd there. You can also check out some of our work at RocketHousePictures.com. And that's where we live on the internets.
Great. And you should submit to the Denver Short Film Festival only if you got your movie just right, not if it's not ready yet. But don't worry, next year it'll be there for you too, and it'll be much more expansive and exciting because Gio's got so many plans for this Denver city.
Yes, we do.
So with that in mind, stay creative, Denver.